Welcome back to the Sober Sex Sofa. Shanti Patty Owen here. I am your host for this channel where we discuss sobriety, sex, and mental health. Welcome back to part 2 of my chat with TV producer Stephen Pettinger. Stephen is known for shows like the ABC Wife Swap, also the Fox show Nanny 911, the huge history cable hit American Pickers. Take it away, Stephen.
Something did strike me, though, that you said in your last video, and I think it was tremendously important when you said you were glad that you had the problems and the addictions that you'd had. And that resonated with me because I do think once you get to that place in life, it's a pretty indestructible place to be. And I think that the experiences, however unpleasant, however awful, when they make you stronger and don't destroy you and turn you into a bitter human being that's why me, that you use it and harness that energy and that experience to become a better person, I think therein lies the key.
As my aim is to really help people relieve their shame, because there is shame, whether you have an addiction or not, there is inherently shame, at least in this country, regarding sexuality. So there's shame around addiction, there's shame around sexuality, and there's shame around mental health. So I guess you could call this the shame channel or the anti-shame channel. So that's really my goal, is that people have a safe place where they can ask their questions, share their experiences without judgment, because there's so much judgment. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have said, well, those addicts, they're just irresponsible.
No compassion.
Right. Right. And usually those people don't come around until they've had a child with addiction. A spouse starts to come out about an addiction, and then they have to take another look at that willpower, that it's really, addiction issues, most addiction issues go way back to very early stages of childhood. There's trauma. You could have two siblings that were in the same experience, but one of them was traumatized by it where the other one was not. Maybe one was a little more sensitive. It all has to do with also the pecking order in your family. Were you the firstborn, the middle, the baby? There's so many factors. There is never going to be a dearth of subjects to talk about on my channel. And I'm really, really excited about it.
I'm learning lots. And I think that that's the beauty, is that it isn't just for people who suffer from addictions, because I don't think I have an addictive personality. As you know, I have Lyme. My battle is to keep in a healthy place. And I talk to other Lyme sufferers. Many are in a really bitter and angry place still, which is why me. And in terms of when, in the same way that you said you were glad that you'd gone through the challenges that you had and it made you a better person, I know having Lyme has made me such a better person, even though I've been to hell and back.
We met when you were suffering with Lyme disease.
Right.
And I saw the transformation in you, that as painful as what you were going through, I think you had to leave your job, you lost everything. And what I noticed was how much softer you were. It was like pain does soften us, or it makes us bitter. And
right, there are two roads you can go down. Yeah,
truly softened you. You were, it was different talking to you while you were going through that. And I was like, wow, this is a man who has been in one of the most penultimate experiences in producing in television. And now you're not even working and you can't work. That's a very challenging time for anyone. You don't have to have an addiction to come to the Sober Sex Sofa. I tell that to people often. But most people, whether they have an addiction or not, they know somebody who does. Now, people might not consider gambling an addiction. If you're a normie gambler, you can enjoy it once in a while, but if you spend hours and hours and hours online, gambling, and you've lost your house and your car and your wife has left you, you might want to take a look at that. You have a gambling addiction. This country, most of us in this country have a food addiction of one sort or another. And it doesn't mean you have to be overweight to have a food addiction. When we're stressed, we eat, or we drink, or we gamble, or like me, we had sex, a lot of it. There's a lot of it. So, there's all kinds of ways that, people have addictions without being a heroin addict. Do you know what I'm saying?
We soothe the soul however we can.
Because we're in pain. And the best thing we can do when we're in pain is to sit with our pain, to sit with our inner kids, as we sometimes refer to it, and say, hey, what do you need? Instead of like eating, zoning out on TV for 8 hours straight. You can take something that is not particularly an addictive behavior or substance and turn it into an addiction if you're using it to medicate yourself.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. And I think so much of the terminology in the story that you tell, I have a physical disease. It's disease of some kind. Right. And once you've worked through that, it's so true. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And I don't mean physically kill you. I mean mentally break people. I know people in the Lyme community who've just given up, and that the illness is their identity, and that it has consumed them, and that they're bitter and angry towards people who are healthy. I still get the energy envy of my like normie friends, my healthy friends that can do this and that and make this plan, and I still have moments where I will get envious, but it doesn't consume me, and it's just like a flash, because the gifts that I see in the journey and in the illness are so much more. I think it's a really important place to get to, that you see the gifts in the adversity, because it makes you a more compassionate, rounded person.
When somebody has had intense challenges in their life, whatever those challenges are, and they share their stories from an authentic place, and then the key is, well, how did you get out of it? Because clearly you're here because you've gotten out of it. And that's what we want to know, that there is hope, and that we can all get out of our way, get out of our mind, get out of our stuckness, get out of our illness, whatever that is. And we all need to know that there's hope. If there's no hope, then like you said, a lot of people that in the Lyme disease community, just want to throw in the towel because they're just tired of dealing with it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a friend who suffered with it for a good 12 years.
Yeah.
So I saw it close. I mean, she talked about the brain fog that she had.
Terrible.
Did you have that?
Oh, terrible. That was one of my main symptoms, my memory, the fog, the energy. And so that you're existing in a body that you don't know who this human is. It's not you anymore. And then people around you say, oh, don't give up. And, if you feel like you've got flu every day and you're getting onto year 4, it's really hard to get out of bed and go, oh, I can beat this. It grinds you down slowly but surely. And people say they understand, but they don't. They really don't, because most people's experience of physical illness is a week, 2 weeks, and then life's back to normal.
Yeah, but we're talking about a chronic illness.
Months and months and years and years. Yeah, chronic illness. And I don't want people to understand that journey. It's a terrible, terrible experience. And I don't know how you would understand that without having gone through that. But you have to get to that point of where, I was lucky enough that I had the resources able to do lots of groundbreaking treatments. I was able to take time from work. Again, YouTube was a huge resource to me, listening to the best doctors talk, all from different backgrounds, which I would never have access to, and listening to them. I mean, I attribute YouTube hugely to my recovery. And I guess that links into your mission and what you're doing, because in the way that those people helped me, I want to help other people. And it may not be directly Lyme, but it's people suffering from whatever disease it is, disease. And to be part of the answer and the solution, reading people's comments, feedback, knowing that we're helping people in a more targeted way, that feeds my soul.
You are taking your producer skills into like YouTube channels. So you are fostering other people in creating their channels, but you're working with them like a producer.
It's a bigger mission. So I hadn't quite realized this until we're having this discussion. That, yeah, YouTube helped me tremendously. When I was at my darkest point, and I'd been in the Mayo Clinic for a week, and I went from being really excited and high, thinking, oh, they're going to find the answer, to when they said, well, we don't know what's wrong with you, to the depths. Wow. And then I picked myself up and I thought, well, God gave you a brain, and a reasonable one. And I ordered every book I could. And I had the time, and I watched all of these, but not only doctors, chiropractors, nutritionists, anybody in the health and wellness area. And I consumed and I consumed, and I followed advice, and I tried and I had the money to try different drugs, and I contacted different doctors.
It takes it's a full-time job to heal, whether you're healing from a physical illness, a mental and emotional illness, an addiction. It is a full-time job. Sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes 5 years. And I know that anybody who's had a really intense chronic illness like you have to continually manage it and make sure you're eating properly, getting a good amount of sleep and exercising. And it doesn't just like go, oh, that was a little blip in my life, everything's fine. It's like we have to shape shift and go, oh, like I know, I mean, I can hang out with somebody at a restaurant if they're having a glass of wine or two, but to go to a bar where I know everybody's going to be shit-faced after a while, I can maybe meet them at the bar for half an hour, but when they all start getting ridiculously silly, I got to go. Like I have to continually manage because I'm also an alcoholic and I don't drink anymore. I don't hang around people who go to sex parties anymore. That's just like a hard stop. No. But
we're gonna have to break up then.
And listen, it's not a judgment for people who
no.
Okay. No, but I want
that exciting.
I want you to know that I have experimented with it. So yeah, it was titillating and fun at the beginning, but it became something else after a while. So I have to manage my addiction issues, but it's a blessing because it forces me to go inside and say, oh, wow, weird. You feel like smoking a cigarette. You stopped smoking in 2007. What's that about?
Yeah.
And the 12-step programs really have you go inside. Where's that coming from? What was happening in your environment? What was happening in your brain? What made you want to do those, take those substances or act out in those ways? So that's why I say I'm so grateful that I'm an addict, because I don't get to blame people anymore for anything in my life. I mean, I'm such an advocate of the 12-step programs. I can never foresee ever leaving them. I have so many that I go to, and I'm grateful. I am truly grateful.
We tend to only do these things when we have to, right?
I know.
The things that I did in terms of like finish my job, stop drinking alcohol, like these big life changes I made, I wouldn't have done. I would be right now, I'm sure I'd be at a network I mean, that would have been the next step for me at a network, working all the hours that God sends, drinking an enormous amount of alcohol, probably wouldn't be very healthy, taking my life for granted. But I was forced to get off the merry-go-round.
Lyme disease was your gift. It's hard to understand that, you know, challenges we have are gifts. And
Mm.
so that's why the Sober Sex Sofa was born. I was like, yeah, I've been challenged in all those three arenas, and I'm excited to share my experience, strength, and hope to offer that to others.
I really believe there's a point when you're on your knees and you realize that you're completely alone. And you're on your knees and you get back up and then you move forwards and you're not the same, and it's something that you carry with you, and it's a language that you speak. And again, you said in one of your videos, you know, there's a connection, there's a language we speak as addicts. And I think as well, people who are chronically sick, there's a language that you speak, there's a place that you've been.
There's a period of anger, like we're angry at the world, angry at God, angry, you know, there's a I would say anger, sorrow is a big component when we first get healthy, be it physical, psychological, spiritual, mental. There's a period of anger.
Mm-hmm. Of
And,
course. And grief.
oh,
Grief for the person that you were that you no longer are.
right.
And you know, I was grieving the guy who ran a triathlon, the guy who was full of energy, who was smiley Steve, who was positive, enthusiastic, to this guy who was emotionally and physically depleted and couldn't keep the whole dog and pony show going anymore. And I had to come to terms with that person no longer existed. And it was about rebuilding the next person, the new.
Well, speaking of rebuilding, is this part of why you are moving into producing YouTube channels? Because you're
I really believe the key, the mission is shared experiences and people telling their stories. So I'm developing documentaries. Their stories of value, some health connected, some not. So still producing that way. And then podcasts, YouTube, people telling stories. So
do you see that they're all connected? You know, because you did mostly reality shows when you did television, right?
I like to say I did factual. I mean, I think of reality like the Housewives of Beverly Hills.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's
You
for
know,
sure.
I think it. I
No,
mean, when I started television, there wasn't such thing as reality. I made shows about people in real life. It was
oh, okay. Okay. So that seems to be the running theme, and it's continued.
oh yeah. I mean,
Interested
to
in
me,
people being authentic, telling their stories.
oh yeah, and
That is
to me, it
commitment
was
that,
one big adventure.
yeah.
Going and doing these various different shows and meeting people and traveling. I was like, I've hit the jackpot, which I had. Going out there, an anthropologist really, that's paid rather well, and to be creative and go out there and entertain. But I think it's kind of now taken a more serious angle, just as I have grown up and matured and gone through these experiences. And mission, why are we here? Or else I think you can end up very disillusioned and empty as a person. I think all of us need to find our calling, our mission, what are we here to do? And I think I'm only just getting there, really. My mission before was, oh, I'm going to have a great time and do lots of interesting things.
That was my mission for sure.
Yeah, right when you were modeling, yeah.
I'm gonna have a great time. I'm gonna go to lots of parties with lots of fabulous people, right? And I was like, oh, this is a blast, right? It was a blast. I don't have any regrets. I mean, I was in my 20s, you know, that's what we do.
So if I can tell people's stories and contribute to the world in a positive way, then that's the direction I'm taking. And I think that there are certain people who are perfect for this. And I think, you know, you're a great example.
I was like, why is he seducing me with this? He was like, you said,
was
you went, I believe in you. And I'm
I
like,
do.
I was like, is he just saying that? I really don't want to do this. But once I got started with it, it was almost like I looked at myself outside of myself and I was like, yeah, I'm really made for this. I mean, I do this all the time. I do this with my clients. I do this with my friends, with family. People say, boy, you really talk well. I said, I think I came out of the womb yapping and flapping. So
Yeah, I'm excited to see where we'll go with this.
I'm sure you'll be back, and I know you'll
Oh, my
be.
guest spot. Thank you for having me.
That was so much fun for me. If any of you out there have ever had an inkling to start your own YouTube channel, maybe it was just the little seed of an idea, please reach out to me via email at sobersexsofa@gmail.com. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for coming back again and again, and thank you for your comments and your questions. You can send them to me via email at sobersexsofa@gmail.com. I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon.